We want you to sit back, close your eyes with us for this moment, and meditate before we begin our journey. We want to invite you to glide with us throughout the galaxy as we touch other higher frequencies and unite on Food Alchemy Network. Where we bring in inspiration, joy, education, insightful, loving vibration. Dr. Cicely D'Angelo promises to bring you ways to up-level to another level each and every broadcast. So stay tuned to Food Alchemy Network. Dr. Cicely D'Angelo will be your guide. She is the captain of Food Alchemy Network. Thank you for staying tuned and dialing in to Food Alchemy Network.
All right, everybody, give me a chance. I just got my tea. We'll have coffee with Ori. So we're going to be live in a minute. And I want to say, make awareness for mental health. Tomorrow is World Mental Health Day, 10/10/20. Be aware. We were the first ones to jump on starting yesterday from our pilot show. And since you are right there in the mix of things, being on Blog Talk Radio and YouTube and watching it live, if you have any questions, I want you to call 563-999-3007. That number again is 563-999-3007. One more time, so I will get it right. 563-999-3007. Call and you will be put in queue. Push 1 if you want to be heard. Now, if you want to also know for future updates on Blog Talk and what is going on, I suggest you subscribe to Food Alchemy Radio Network on Blog Talk. And then scoot on over to YouTube where it's live and you can actually see it live and being presented. So my first show that is really going to be a staple is Coffee with Ori. So again, for YouTube, I want you to go down to that little bell, subscribe, and then you'll get notifications that when we're live, when we have questions, so you can get in the chat box and be with us and be interactive. This is a more interactive show. It's not one of those shows you're just going to sit back on your tootie, and you can take notes if you want, but we want some questions, and I know you want some answers. So without further ado, I want to welcome you to Coffee with Ori, and this is Ori.
Well, I'm happy to be here again, and happy to give you the information that I said I was going to do. I was going to give you yesterday the information. In the conversation we were having yesterday about DNA, I said there are various books that have been written. I know reading one about two Black sisters that wrote, but there is a book by Mark Wolynn, Wollynn, and Amazon has a few other authors that deal with this trauma, and it's carried in the DNA, and the study is called epigenetic. It's what it's called.
Okay.
And I think it's important if we want to understand what our genetic makeup is made of, or if we want to know why we do things repetitiously and not knowing why, and self-sabotage, maybe that is the place that you need to start.
Okay. That helps. That helps. That helps a lot. So would, excuse me. Oof. Let me get a cup of tea. Where's your coffee?
Actually,
Supposed to have coffee.
give me a
Come
second.
on now. Coffee with Ori.
Give me a second. I'll get you coffee. No. I had it brewing, so it's here. Coffee.
Okay. Coffee with Ori. It doesn't look right, you know. So I'm doing my tea. Now, what I did go and do research for was the mental health for African American or Black American or whatever you want to call us, you know, today and days. Like, we got so many blasted names, I want to say. And then I also looked up Asian American and mental health.
Okay.
And it's as like, are you ready for the number that I got for Black Americans
Sure.
that have mental health issue? Or I mean, it blew me away. 74 million African Americans have mental illness. Now check this out. We got 36 million Asian Americans with mental illness. Now, out of that percentage, are we ready for this? Because this is like the real shocker. They have mental illness. 70% of them with mental illness are suicidal and have committed or have tried to commit suicide. That's a high rate. 70%?
It's a very high rate. A very high rate. And
Now,
the rate in Hispanics is just a little higher than that. It's in the 90 percentile. Yes.
what the heck?
But we're talking about Latinos from all over, not just Puerto Rico, not just Cuba. We're also talking about Latinos from Spain and Latinos from Costa Rica, from DR, just all around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you did the research about about the blacks in the United States, right?
Right.
Okay, but if you sum up the African Americans that are in Europe, that actually are African Americans that were born in Africa and actually went, well, they're not African American, but they're Afro-Euro because they're in Europe. If you actually do the research, you will find that there is a lot more. A lot more. And in Australia, like they call the people in Australia, what is it?
Aborigines.
They're really not Aborigines. Aborigines are the white people. Aborigines have nothing to do with them. So they don't like to be called Aborigines. And they also have a hard time.
Yes.
You know, so like I said before, it all boils down to our DNA. It all boils down to fear and control from past.
Right.
And it's affecting us here. Because although society may think that pharma has a solution for everything, I personally believe, like you says, I've known you for what, like 30 years, 20 something years?
30 years.
Okay. And we both have learned from each other. I taught you for a while. You taught me things. And the one thing that I've always admired about you is the fact that you have always pushed for natural medicines. And you've helped me through that. But what I don't understand is that a lot of times minorities. Just to say minorities. I'm not, just so
Okay.
I'm just so tired of the stereotypical, because if you say black and you're lighter than the most blacks, then you're automatically, it's like that slave mentality. You can pass, or you can be this way, or you can be that way. I don't want to hear that. That's BS. At the end of the day, we're all connected. Like I said, one seed, Africa, and let's
Right.
just leave it there, because
Okay.
anything else could be really ignorant. No, really, and it can be redundant at the same time.
I get you.
Um, what people don't understand, I'm not gonna say just black people. I have to say across the board, because you did the research on black people, you did the research. I did the research on Hispanic people, and you did the research on Chinese people. But
Asian.
the research, well, Asian, but the research on white people hasn't been done.
Well, I believe it's a little bit higher
No.
because
Yeah, I would imagine so.
and it's a lot of suicides
Yeah.
and desperate. That's why they have the 1-800 hotline that came out in the 80s, where you can call for suicide. You remember that? I don't know if you remember. They had the hotline that they could call if they felt suicidal. And my thought is, if someone is suicidal, really suicidal, are they going to stop and remember that number and call that 1-800 number? I feel like killing myself. To me, that is like ridiculous, because they're not. If someone that's really going to kill themselves, this is my train of thought, they're going to kill themselves. They're not going to sit there and dial a number to be stopped. That, to me, maybe I'm wrong.
No.
Maybe I find that they want attention if they call, and I find a lot of people that say, you know what, I'm going to die, I'm going to kill myself. And I'm not making fun of people that are really in that situation. So I don't
No.
want to get no emails, no nothing. Do not be nasty to me, because I will cuss you out. Okay. But I'm going to let you, what I'm saying is, there are people that dramatize that mental illness to get attention, to get away from facing the problem that is very simple. And that just, they push it under rug. That's what I'm saying. But a real person, they're very tedious. They have a note. They have it all planned, and they commit it. Or they could be listening to a song or something, and it's a trigger. And next thing you know, they're hanging from a rope. And next thing you go, and they're going. Or they're going to do a car. I know my experience, I guess I should say, I was a kid growing up with people that were psychologists and a psychiatrist. And there's a difference. We talked about that, remember?
Yes.
I was fortunate enough, my biological mother was a psychiatric uh, aide or whatever. She was an psychiatric, helping those with mental disorders. Okay, so I grew up in this, but they were my friends as a young age, and they used to bring out books. They used to have this big, thick book called Physicians, Referrals and Diagnosis, and it's a red book, and it has gold lettering. They had it. And I used to sit there, and we used to talk about stuff while my mom sometimes would be working, and I'd be sitting outside in the lobby, and they took a liking to me. Dr. Goldstein, I'll never forget her, took a liking to me and started giving me cases. What would you say for this or that? And then the psychologist did the same thing. And how would you solve this or this? Now, her way I liked, because it was natural and it was talking. The psychiatrist, Dr. Goldstein, I don't have nothing against her, because she'll prescribe you some medicine. But then I was also where it was prestigiously of white people that were in there, that had the money, that it was hush hush and pressed down. So their diagnoses were kept quiet, even drugs or alcohol. There's a difference. Their stuff is not put on blast like our stuff is put on blast when we're put in jail. I'm just saying there's a difference of treatment when it comes from them into us. Not saying it's good. Now, and then again, I got to realize also your financial your level, because if you're poor white, you're treated different. You're treated just like we are sometimes. Okay, you get a little benefits, you know what I mean, and then we got hatred from them that have the money, don't like looking at you like you're crazy, that them, so they deal with it different. and they have extra pressure sometimes. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying that's what I've seen in that thing. If they can't afford it, they don't even let them in the darn door. I'm just saying, I've watched them. Oh, okay, your check run out. I watch them once a month kick people in their bags and put them on the curve, because they couldn't afford to stay there. So
It's sad, but it's very true.
So I'm saying, so that's my experience as a kid growing up with that mental health of people, different variations. I mean, from alcohol, the alcohol is really bad to the drugs, but the mental issue is really with schizophrenia, bipolar, and it used to be personality disorder. And no, what was it called? Was it called personality disorder? What was it called back in the day? It had another name, but it's a personality disorder where people have a whole bunch of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is to me going spiritual. When people have different personalities, they're coping from maybe some abuse, some trauma, or other things that were done to them. So they have to slip in that role, that little girl role where they were being abused, where they felt, or they have to slip in that teenager role where they can fight back. We don't know why these different people have these different personalities, why they have them in this disorder. But that is a lot we don't talk about and we don't see from that aspect, that there's different ones. And they changed the names, because now you can't say, I don't know, it was a word, but it wasn't personality disorder. It was just like, oh, this person has like five different people. She was Sherry today and she's Charlie tomorrow. But did they ask the person in that persona why they were where they were? And spiritually, I think it was protection, that their guardian angel, call me kooky, that came in and helped them block out the pain that they were dealing with. So what do you think?
Well, from experience, from experience, what you said earlier was true about people who want to commit suicide. I don't hide my childhood. My childhood was very traumatic, but it doesn't define who I've become. Now, being born a medium is very different than acquiring it. Some people can learn how to acquire the energy by opening themselves up. Some people are just born with sight. I was born with that. Now, I hid behind a person that would only come to me right before I was being abused to let me know that it was coming and I was going to suffer. So they kind of took my mind out of my spirit out of my body, just so that I can see the abuse. Okay. As I grew up, I had a normal, I mean, we knew each other. I was fine. I was always smiling. I was always happy. I was always doing everything, but I was living a lie.
Right.
I was living a lie. I was living somebody else's life. So at one point, there is no one that has gone through this drama that has not have had a breakdown. We all have a breaking point. And unfortunately, in the society we live in, people try to be empathetic or sympathetic. We're going to say sympathetic, because there is a difference between sympathy and empathy. Empathy, you understand, and you're giving them space, but you do understand their condition and you're trying to guide them. But sympathy means, oh, I feel sorry for you. I'm going to do everything I can. You know what? I guess when I went through it, I pushed everybody away. I wanted peace. And the times that I attempted suicide, I attempted it, and I don't know, unbeknownst to me, my mom always knew that something was wrong, and she would always end up exactly wherever I was. And I never talked about it. She just said that she knew that there was something wrong. Whereas, my brother's always talking about he wants to kill himself and other people that I know. And my answer to them is, look, If you want to end your life, cutting yourself is not ending your life. I know that this is wrong to say, but I am an advocate for suicide. I really am. And I believe that because we're here, we have the right to choose how we want to. But if you're going to come to me and tell me you're going to kill yourself 50 million times, then what I'm going to tell you is you're going to do it, get on the biggest building and jump off. Because you know what? This whole I'm going to kill myself and then you take pills and then you call somebody, oh, I took a whole bunch of pills. That's a joke. It's a game. And life is not a game. This is a serious problem that has been going on in the United States. Well, it's been going on in the United States for a very, very long time. It wasn't going on in Africa. Africa had other things. You know, they tried the Ebola, they tried the HIV, they did everything they could, you know, and all kinds of other diseases they tried in Africa and other poor countries like India, whatever. But at the end of the day, the United States is the target for pharma. If you ask me, I believe there is a cure for diabetes. If you ask me, I believe there's a cure for cancer, because I remember years before they came out with this whole thing about the lungs and stuff, Cuba had this program where you go, people came from the United States and they had lung cancer and they would leave a few weeks later and they were fine. And when they gave it to the United States, now the United States is charging astronomical amounts, just like Cuba had. What is that pill? PrEP. Cuba had PrEP a long time before PrEP came into this market, and they were talking about selling PrEP for like 2 cents.
Okay.
2 cents. And the United States sells PrEP for an astronomical price. So they want the cure, and just like we're going to go a little bit to politics. Kamala Harris, what she said, you know, Biden, you know, they want to give everyone this vaccine. I don't do vaccines. I don't do the flu. I don't do none of that. I haven't in many, many years, and you know, thank God I'm fine. But I know a lot of young people who do not inoculate their children either. They go to doctors where they don't inoculate them, and technically it's their right. And these children are growing up healthy,
right?
And most of them are raising their children vegans, and it makes them even stronger. But I urge people to understand that this is a real problem amongst minorities. It is a big, 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 big issue, and it is time that we become aware that sometimes the problem is so deep rooted, and sometimes a lot of it has to do with, you know, like the army, you know, don't ask, don't tell, and they want you to keep it that way. But I actually encourage people to talk about it, not to be afraid to go to therapy, not to be afraid to talk to a therapist. I love therapy. I love to listen to people and watch how they grow, and also see how some digress. I choose to make myself better. And I remember there was a time where I was on 12 medications. 12.
Ooh, wow.
I couldn't even feel life. And now I'm down to 2 daily.
Okay.
And it works for me. And it works for me, and it has worked for many years, and it has given me. But mind you, you know, having mental health is like being an addict. Some people are functioning. They're functioning with mental health. I know I had stores before. You know, I published books and I did all these things, and I still had the same condition. You know, the conditions that they diagnose you with now is schizoaffective disorder syndrome, which means bipolar. And there's stage 1 bipolar and there's stage 2. I'm stage 2, which means that I push everybody away. I suffer from depression, where other people become violent. I'm not, and I'm not one of those. They call the new people, well, the people that came from Iraq, they call them, what is that, PSPD? What is that they have? PST?
Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah. But technically, if you look at the charts, it's actually the same thing, the same exact diagnosis, schizoaffective disorder syndrome. You know, and like I said, I just urge everyone, that if you know someone, you have a family member, and you notice that their personality shifts on a regular basis, you know what? Get them help. Tell them, I believe you have a problem. Don't be afraid. Because children are also born with this. So if you see it in a child, don't just laugh at them thinking that it's a joke, that they're playing around. Some kids don't have to be abused to have mental disorders. It just happens.
It's chemical imbalance.
A chemical imbalance. If your child is hyper, minorities are known to beat their children. What's the word? I'm gonna whoop your ass if you don't stay still.
Yep.
You know what? So yeah, I mean, I remember getting hit with switches, and I had to choose my switch and peel it and get whooped. What kind of shit is that? I mean, another way of cruelty. So on top of the abuse that you're going through, you have more cruelty. And like I said, tomorrow, like you said, tomorrow is the day. And I just hope that people are aware of it and people take the time to understand that a lot of this depression is you're born with it because of your DNA. And if you educate yourself a little bit more to find out, your background, whether it's through 23andMe or My Heritage, you get to see not just who your ancestors were, you get to see if they had any illnesses
and traumas,
and that is the first stepping stone.
So, okay, I have a question for you. Why do you think we as minorities do not go and talk to a person about our mental status or mental health?
Well, one, because we were taught at a very young age that whatever happens in the home stays in the home. That's one. A lot of minorities, Hispanics, and Blacks, come from families that, that are abusive, mentally and sexually. It's something that I would say through slavery, it happens. But even before that, I know that white people have this saying, and they say, incest is best. Why don't you take your brother for the test?
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And that is why a lot of I call them minorities. I don't call us minorities. I call the white people minorities because they are the minority now. And there's so many of them that live impoverished lives. And there's so many of them that are on welfare, more than Blacks and Hispanic. And yet they're having incest with their cousins and their nieces and their nephews. And, and it's just some sick, trying to keep a race pure. The race was never pure. You can't keep something pure that was never pure. No, I'm serious.
I get what you're saying. I know.
We as I would just say as elders and beginners, because we were elders and now we're beginning our journey again to find spirituality, to find religion, our religion, which is the spirit, to connect to the great spirit, not to connect to a Jesus that we were forced to believe in. Not saying that he existed and not saying that he didn't exist. Everyone has their own belief system. I just think that as a whole, if you are one of those people that are of color and is deciding to start a group or an organization where you want to go to Africa and you want to do something and you want to be around people, think about this. What are you contributing to Africa?
Right.
You can't just bring your dusty ass to Africa thinking you're going to live there and you're going to have your check is going to be sent there, your pension or whatever, and you're going to live there because it's cheaper. The reality is, what exactly are you going to be doing for them? What are you going to do? Because the African people in Africa actually help themselves. I know these singers and actors or whatever, they built many things. Oprah Winfrey did schools, and what is that girl?
Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys. She's very involved. She's actually more involved than Oprah.
Of course she is.
And it's because it wasn't just for women, for girls. It was also for women who were battered and they wanted to learn a trade or something, and they go there with their children and they can stay there and they continuously build. So right. to me, my thing is, okay, like when I go to Cuba, I bring suitcases filled with food, and I'll spend the money to bring rice and to bring, meat and to bring all kinds of stuff, not because I want to toot my horn, but because I know that there is a need. I can't feed them all, but I can right. feed the neighborhood where I'm staying at that moment.
Right.
And my question, my biggest question has always been, you want to go back to the motherland, you want to learn, but what are you contributing? What are you contributing? Are you doing this because you want to learn the culture, or you want to steal from the culture? You want to steal and then come back, because as people that, like I said, we're not going to use that minority word because that really makes me sick. As we know for a long time, and you know what? I'm sorry if you white people out there get offense to it. It doesn't matter to me. I can look like I'm white, but I am very much Hispanic. And I love who I am. And I come from a mixture of people, Native Americans, Tainos, and Blacks. I don't have a problem with who I am. Other people may have a problem with me. I don't have a problem with anyone. But what I think is, we can't be like white people to go to every place they go. They learn something, and then they bring it here, and then they want to make money out of it. We're not giving them anything back. So if you're going to learn something, you're going to learn a trade, and you come back home, and they showed you how to weave a basket, let's just say a basket, and you're teaching a class on how to weave baskets, you know what? Start an organization where if you sell a basket for $20, $5 of that dollar will go back to Africa. But they don't do that. So we, as indigenous people that go back to where our roots are, we need to be open-minded and understand that we can't just go to a country and expect to have maids and servants and people to do things for them because we have the economical structure to do so. Okay. You have to prepare yourself and understand that before you go, you need to have a plan. You can't just go because it's cheap to live there and you're going to learn. First of all, they speak English better than us. Mm-hmm. Most of the Africans are more educated than we are. So at the end of the day, what do they really need from us except money, except food, except help, clothes? They don't need so many things. I mean, they're pretty much self-sufficient. Villages. There's still a lot of very poor villages, but a lot has to do with the sand and the dirt and all that stuff, the clay, and the same thing goes for Haiti. Haiti's a beautiful place, and at one time it was It was worse, but you know what? I've been to some of the worst countries, and but I've enjoyed the experience to stay with the poor people. I never stay in the hotels with the rich people. For what? What am I going to get from them? Nothing. Doesn't stimulate me to give. I go with a suitcase and come back with an empty suitcase. That to me fills me. Why? Because I did something good because I felt that it was good. So again, the only thing I ask of everyone that's out there, and there's a lot of groups, organizations doing it, and I'm not talking about these crazy the evangelist churches. I'm not talking about them, because Lord knows we have too many of them in the world, and we even have a lot of them in Africa now. And if white evangelists go there and they try to make you feel like you have all this stuff, and they do all this craziness, you know what? Again, mental.
Right.
A lot of it is mental.
Well, we had a comment in the room. The reason that people don't go to therapy is because of social stigma. It's a social stigma, and I agree.
It is a social stigma, but it's only a social stigma if you let them know what you're doing. No one has to know your business except you, unless you're a child and your mother has to take you. But once you become an adult, you can do whatever you want, and no one ever has to know your business.
This is true. This is true. But no, that was like that's the way I see. They make fun of people, like, you know how your family, she's the cuckoo in the house. Even as a kid, I remember they used to say my mom used to work at the funny farm. And I was like, what's the funny farm? I'm like, and then, but it also helped me a lot. Like I said, having those therapists, psychologists talk to me about different things and the effect of the moon and the balance of the moon. And that's what we're talking about, being made of water and lunatic and lunacy, and Luna being the moon.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that made a lot of sense for me at the time, but also I got to remember they were Jewish descent, not Hasidic Jews, but they would sit down and they believe in cosmology, as we said, and the stars and planet alignment. So I got that from that point of view from them, about mental illness and things and how they looked at it. One was medicine based, MD, you know what I mean, and the other one was not, finding what we could say today is alternative therapy. You don't necessarily have to be on a drug. There's things you can do to do. She would do counseling, group sessions. She would group sessions. What else you do? Aromatherapy if they were depressed. Like, I know that was not popular in the 80s and stuff, but these are the things that I remember as a kid of them talking more than anything. What was popular was what AA, the
And
step program, NA, the step programs where they go and they would go, but they would go to the Catholic church, and they would have it in the bottom of the basement, like where it's dark. You know what I mean? Like they
they
make
still
you feel
do. And they still have them.
like, and
They
you're
do.
drinking stale old coffee and the dried out donuts, and you made to stand up, say your name, and while you're here, okay, Charlie, you said your name. You come back next week, and it's like, are they real? Is this program really? It's been around for so long. Is it really helped? Some people, I say it helped, but really, did it really help? Because they say a lot of them fall off the wagon, from sobriety. Because what, do they have a coach? I mean, it's a lot of stuff. But if you're heavy duty into it, and you can't afford to go to a center, what do you do?
Well, looking at it from a different perspective, um, one of the biggest problems that I find in therapy, and I learned this very young. Well, not young, when I had um, my first meltdown, is that I was afraid to say you're not a perfect fit. And that's a problem with people. People get sent to a therapist, not a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist prescribes, a therapist does not.
Right.
And you go to a therapist, and the therapist is trying to tell you what is wrong with you instead of letting you talk about what's going on. And then they constantly make you relive your trauma over and over and over and over again. But I've learned that with experience and with age was that I would go to a therapist today and I would say, you're not a perfect fit for me, so I need to talk to you some other time. In group therapy, I listen. I was more a listener than a speaker, because I realized that I was, again, in a room, and yeah, maybe it is because people don't know who I am or what I am. But technically, it was in New Jersey. What is it? Mountainside Hospital.
Mm-hmm, Mountainside.
Yeah, they have a mental ward there, and going to therapy and going to group, it was like all these young white kids that hated their parents, and they were wealthy. They hated their parents, and they were all hooked on crystal meth and all this stuff. Now, when you have a problem, regardless of what color you are, when you have a problem and you have a problem with alcohol, sometimes it's a problem that is brought down from generation to generation. It really is. You can become an alcoholic because of, it's in you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I come from a family where, yes, my grandfather was an alcoholic. I adored him, but he was an alcoholic. Some of my uncles were alcoholics. And I'm not ashamed, I mean, I did drugs until I was 19, and then I just decided enough is enough. But I'm not doing anything, and I didn't do anything that half of the world did not do. People experimented, and people become religious, and then they become holier than thou, and then they automatically assume, or they try to tell everybody, oh, well, you need to be saved. Well, saved from what? Saved from what?
Save from yourself.
The best one is I found Jesus. Well, I told a woman not too long ago, and she told me that I found Jesus in Walmart. I said, well, can you tell me what aisle he's on so I can go talk to him? Because I have a lot of things to say to him. And she didn't think it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. I found Jesus. You found Jesus. Where was he? Where was he? For me, God has always been there. I don't know about the Jesus they believe in, but I believe in God. And I talk to God directly every single day. And that is my strength. But also, people will only do to you what you would allow them to do to you. Okay? And in mental health, like I said, I've always just pushed away from people. I was a child who was born with depression. So with everything that I went through, depression was the way that I lived. But I always hid it by laughing and being happy and making everybody happy and doing for everyone else except me. Now people have an issue with me because automatically they may think that I am a certain way when I'm really not. You know me for 30 years. I will give you the shirt off my back, but I'm very selective now. Before I wasn't, now I am.
Right.
Okay. And like I said, this issue that we're having is a big issue. And like I said, going to therapy, nobody has to know what you're doing. No one has to know your business. If you talk to somebody and you confide in them and they treat you a certain way, then it is time for you to cut that tie. And it doesn't matter if it's a friend or a sibling. Sometimes you have to cut the tie in order for you to find peace within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. You want to live, you have to choose life. And if you're going to choose life, then sometimes you got to get away from the people who are toxic in order for you to choose life.
Right. And that's good. So that now you lead to toxic people and toxic relationships. So someone supposing, because I call it the Stockholm syndrome, because they've learned that behavior is embedded in them. You know what I mean? To accept that behavior, to be subservient, to be obedient, to be the good daughter, to be the good son. If you listen, even though they're busy abusing you and telling you all the things you could do, would not do, or need to do, like nothing you do is correct in their eyes. But they have something to say about that, what you could do, how you should do. The famous thing is I've heard was, I have to break you down. I have to break you down. And the thing is, my answer was, or saying to a child, why would you need to break the child down? Because if they had a strong foundation, you wouldn't need to break them down. But if you're going to break them down, you got to remember to build them up. Because if they're so broken down and breaking down, how do they know to go up? Because they've been so broken down, and that's where they're at. That's where you leave them. Am I making sense, or am I, you know?
I think it makes a lot of sense, but you know what? It also begins from a very young age. Okay, we're not going to talk about abuse sexually. We're going to talk about parents, the way they think, okay?
Okay.
You have a child, your child is in the playground, and there's your child is 3, there's a child in the playground that's 1. Your child has a ball, and the other child that's 1 automatically wants the ball. So what do you do as a parent? To be a good parent, to supposedly to be a good parent, you would take the ball from your child and give it to that crying baby because he's smaller, right? That's what people do, for kindness. But in reality, by you doing that, you're taking power away from your child. Because if that is your child's ball and your child came into it and your child did not want to share it with that child, you should not take it away from your child to give it to somebody else, because that's a learned behavior. You're teaching them that other people come before them. And that's where it begins, at the age of knowledge, the age of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Okay. So, then you talk about Stockholm syndrome, the real Stockholm syndrome, when you are sexually abused for so many years and you fall in love with your abuser. Mm-hmm. As a reader and as a spiritual healer, I have learned, and as a life coach, I've learned that through my experiences, most of the defects in my life were spiritual. I can hear the dead, I can talk to the dead, and I don't have a problem with it, and I'm not crazy. And I don't have a problem going to therapy and saying, listen, this is what I hear, because I've done it to my doctors and said, listen, the phone is going to ring in a few minutes and it's going to be something that's bad news, but your child is okay. And automatically the phone rings and they look at me and we have to go, and they leave. And the next day I just say, I know that it was what it was. Do you understand? So I've had a lot of that, but I've also had a lot of women, Black women and Hispanic women, who were raped by their fathers, who have had sex with their fathers, and they were way in their 20s and they were still having sex with their father because they loved their father. I had one that got married and she invited her father to the wedding when everybody in the family knew that he had slept with his daughter. And it was just accepted. And it wasn't until we actually talked about everything and the struggles that we both shared equally that she came to see that it's a spiritual awareness that you have to understand that sometimes the problem is not you, the problem is them, and they want to make you feel like you're the one that's broken. People are good with that. And you see a lot of that. There's a thing that I call savagery, right? Because there was a time where I remember going to school and Black black boys used to fight in the playground, and they would fight fist to fist. Hispanics still do it. But a lot of black on black deaths, you know, that a kid will curse you out and another kid will come and shoot you in the head. Doesn't make any sense because it doesn't prove that you're a man. It proves that you're a fool. And it proves that you're a coward. Now, all of this comes about, all of this negativity comes about savagery, you know, all the way from what is it? The Vikings, and then you have England, then you have France, and then you have Spain, and then you have all these European countries that were always fighting and betraying each other, and one being jealous over the other, because that's what it is. It's jealousy. That is a learned behavior in this country. That was a learned behavior. That was a learned behavior because slavery, the slaves saw that. They saw that. They saw the way that white people would treat each other, and how if you had land and you had, you know, a big field of cotton, well, I want a bigger field of cotton. You want to outdo people. What for? There's enough for everyone in the world. And that's what I don't understand. There is enough money in this world for everyone to make it. If you choose not to make it, it's because you choose not to. And if you're going to decide to sell drugs, why poison your own people? Why? Why poison the poor? I never understood that. I never understood when you're having a protest and you decide, because my mother lived in Springfield Avenue when the riots in Newark, and they did a number. So my thing is, why destroy? Why destroy the neighborhood you live in? You live in that neighborhood. The people that live there are poor. Why destroy the poor? Why? What are you going to gain from that? Do you understand? Is that a mental illness? Yes, it is a mental illness. It is.
I didn't say anything. Now, what I will say, when those riots are, they got plants in there that are really not part of the cause.
Oh,
That
definitely.
to make it do that on purpose. And it just was kind of brought to light a little bit, this protest that they planted the people where they were going in there writing Black Lives Matter, and they wasn't even black, and they was like, why are you writing this on? They were following them around. But also they do that to infiltrate groups and stuff like that. So that's the normal.
No, that's the normal. But you know what? You have to be just as sick. You have to be just as sick to actually take money from a white person and take the money and write something on a wall or a building that you go into, that you know the people in there, and write all this stuff because you got paid to do it.
Right.
You know, well, you have to be dense.
Right. Okay. But what I was saying is there were some white people that did it and saying it were blacks.
No, I remember watching in the news. They were wearing hoods and they were wearing masks, so you couldn't really tell that they were white until a lot of brave women. This is why I think that women are you know, the matriarchs of the world are women. You know, you guys are the ones that make everything happen. Even though in society, in the Jewish society, in the Muslim society, in many different societies, women are looked down at as second-class citizens. I'm sorry, no. We men, we're the second-class citizens because our mamas raised us. And some mamas are good mamas and some mamas are bad mamas only because they were taught by their mamas that they have to have a man in order to survive. That's a mental problem. If you feel that you need a man to keep your bed warm, and you are more of a woman than a mother, then you got issues. You should never have had children. That's the way I look at life. There's a lot of women out here in the world that have children that should never have had children.
I get you.
And there are women, and there are mothers that are suffering today. Hundreds of thousands of mothers who've lost their children in wars, senseless wars that we create. Okay, so in a whole, generalizing everything, in a whole, you can see why there's so much mental illness. Because remember, one trauma you can hide, two traumas you can hide. But when you have a trauma that affects your family and no one is doing anything about it, that trauma is all mental. And going to war is mental. Teaching these soldiers that it is okay to kill these people, children and women, for the hell of it. And there are a lot of people who enjoy the killing. And you know that. So
Right.
the thing is, there's a mental illness that's instilled into us since we're little. We just don't realize it. We don't realize that the schools are instilling violence. The the government is instilling violence. They create certain shows to create violence. You know what I mean? And and everything that goes that happens in the world, around the world. Like, I believe that what we're going through right now is an epidemic, but it's an epidemic that happens every 20 years. They do a purging. Why? Because the world is crowded. So they create something, they poison people, people die. And what happens? After you get a certain amount of people, then they come up with something that will help bring it down. You understand? Right. And I know the purge has been going on for a long time. They don't have to tell me. People can say that I'm crazy. People can say that it's a conspiracy theory. But I didn't become the medium that I am by not knowing what spirit shows me. So I have the ability to go back in time and see things that have happened and how they happened. So I just talk about only things that I've experienced, that I see, that I know are coming. And when something is about to come, this is something that is happening. Yeah, people are dying, but there's something worse that's coming besides this.
Yep.
And just when this pandemic changes, automatically everything is going to change in a different way. Case in point, do you remember when this pandemic first started and people were saying, well, it's not affecting people of color because we have melon. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then how much longer did it take before Black people started to get sick, really sick? And meanwhile, I was telling people this stuff is being sprayed in the air. They're spraying this stuff in the air. You don't realize it, but they're spraying the stuff in the air. And people are like, no, there you go again. No. But you know what? At the end of the day, there were things, and I always knew, and Spirit always said, don't go out on this day, don't go out on this other day. And I wouldn't. And yet everybody in my surrounding area here got sick with pandemic, and I didn't. And they were in my home. Why? Because I don't have that fear, one. Mm-hmm. And two, my mind is more powerful than it used to be. Again, we are instilled by TV. Hitler did it. You train people to believe what they hear. So people only believe what they hear or what they see. They're not believing what's happening around them. I always tell people, walk around your neighborhood. Get to know your neighborhood. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know people. Get to know the people that are around you and create a force so that you can always be there for each other. Because people who suffer, we all suffer from some type of illness, something, whether it's diabetes, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's erratic behavior, whether it's what is that HDHD? I mean, we all have something, or whether it's a delay or we forget things. But then you got to ask yourself, what medicine are you on? I know I read every medication that I'm on for diabetes. I read, and that's why I stopped taking metformin and I inject myself. Why? Because there's less risk with injection than there are with metformin.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I just urge people, if you're going to if you're going to go and get treatment and you're going to be on drugs that's going to make you sleepy and drowsy and make you lose perception of who you are, then they're not the right choice for you. Then it's time for you to try others. And it is okay for you to say to the doctor, I am not going to take these because this is the way that I feel, and go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. You're entitled to do that. I don't care if you're on Medicare, if you're on Medicaid, and you figure, well, the state is paying for it, so I got to do it. No, this is your body, this is your life, and it's the only one you have. So you have to learn that you have to come first.
I should. I get you. I get you. I get you. Getting to that, being medications, because I, as a kid, was labeled with ADHD as a child. But my mother did not do the medications. She prescribed, she believed Dr. Fingal, it was the Dr. Fingal diet, which was very unique. The diet means no color, no preservatives, no additives. But I realized I was a sensitive kid. I didn't do milk. I drank soy. I kind of was on a vegetarian diet. We did the yogi hoagies and stuff like that. I know it's like weird, but that
Mhm.
had tofu in it and carrots and spinach, and more so with mayonnaise. So it was we called it yogi hoagie. So instead of having meat, the preservatives and stuff, it was everything all natural made into this yogi hoagie. And it was really good, but I did not eat your standard American diet. I did not have ketchup or what a lot of those hot dogs and stuff. Only when I went to certain people's house, they have those, which I can't stand, is spaghetti-odios.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, spaghettios.
I can't stand that stuff. It's so gross. It's so disgusting. And
But
then it was
everything has changed. Like I used to love Chef Boyardee. Chef Boyardee is nasty now because they have so many preservatives now. Everything is nasty.
but I didn't even like it back then. That's what I'm saying. I told him, I said, remind me of neon orange. I was like, but then again, it's like poison. I didn't know, my body just didn't like it. They had my brother's grandmother used to work for Mrs. Paul's.
Okay.
Miss Paul's, the fish stick people. I can't
Mhm.
stand fish sticks today. They're just so gross. So, I mean, that comes from my childhood because I just found the food to be gross. But I did like the fish cakes that was battered, or going to, what were they, Fishman Gorderman, fish and Gorderman, eating
What?
grilled fish and chips at the fish thing. But I would eat it this is where it would malted vinegar. Malted vinegar, I love my on my chips and on my fish and chips. And that's how I ate it. And I said, oh, but it was called Arthur Teachers, another fish company. So from those places that were original, I like that. But it changed my palate, that stuff that was color. Back in the day, they used to put carob syrup on their pancakes. I don't know if you know what carob syrup is.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff, I like that, make you go to the bathroom. But then I found out they was giving carob syrup and water for babies, to get them to drink water. To me, that's when I think everything kind of went downhill, because everybody think they're supposed to get sugar. So the diet changed, because now you have carob syrup, the brown one and the clear one. And it was, for me, that's disgusting stuff. So I was an expensive kid. Now that I'm thinking about it, I ate all of this weird stuff in order to combat my diet of my mental psychological hyperactive. So that's what they did. And then to find out that I was super smart, because I had that, as I said, that being as a kid, it make you not feel smart. Okay, now you're labeled. Now you're a special education, or you know, because of this, they were looking for a diagnosis. And basically it changed around when I changed my diet. I didn't eat lollipops. I would like an apple instead. You know, that's what I learned. I wanted fresh stuff versus the bad stuff. But these are the things, that's why I think of always do alternative. Because of that diet, Dr. Fingal diet, no evidence, no preservatives. But then again, he takes it a step further and also talks about the chemicals in the paint that also affects our children in the classroom. The carpet, the chemicals and the fumes that comes up from the carpet that we put in there, the machines, the cleaning products that affects their mental state of being able to function in a classroom. And I don't know if you remember back in the day, those glass, things, they were thick. They, so when the sun is beaming in and you got that paint and they had that
Oh,
brown
yeah.
paint, guess what that does? It eats up and gets toxin and makes it very, very uncomfortable for a children to be able to concentrate because all those chemicals are affecting them. So
Well,
now,
you know that lead, everything was made with lead.
Ashe, the paint, yes. And then kids were actually eating paint back in the day. So then
Yeah.
they had to come out with the chip because pregnant women of low income homes were actually eating the chip. It was an epidemic. They were chipping the paint off the place and eating the chips. I was like, what in the world would make a person? And it's like, it's a craving. I just couldn't get it. But then they said they ate dirt. And I was told, okay, well, they're eating dirt from down south. And a friend said, oh, well, the dirt is different down south than it is up north. Are you serious?
My
You
mother,
say,
my mother used to eat ashes for me when she was pregnant with me. She used to eat raw rice for my brother. With my brother, she was pregnant with my brother. But for me, ashes. Yes, maybe that's why I have all the abilities that I do have, because she ate ashes. But look, we're still dealing with the same BS. There's still houses that are filled with asbestos. You know, anytime you see those tiles, those rough tiles and the houses that peel off like a carpet or like a roof tile, those are asbestos. Those are asbestos. Those hard tiles that built the house and they put it on the house and they're hard, those are asbestos. And there's so much of this stuff going on in the world, and we know a lot. I think our parents didn't know, and it's the same thing with politics. I believe that our parents and their parents, they believed in the system so much that they gave control to the system. But I remember as a kid, I remember that when my mom was having problems with someone my mom didn't speak English. We were little, and she was living in a building, and she was having problems with the owner, who was white, and he wanted us out. And my mom always paid the rent, and he was trying to get nasty with her because my mom was really beautiful. So my mom wrote to the Spanish congressman, and at the time, he came to visit her, and he did everything in his power, and that people would help. Nowadays, people just allow the government to do what they do, or they don't vote because they believe, well, if this one's going to win or this one's not going to win, I'm not going to vote. You know what? Everybody's vote matters. If you want a voice, you have to vote. You can't have that. You know what I'm saying? Because then what happens is, what about the people who are living now, this new generation? Because this new generation does not give a shit. This new generation, they are honorary, and a lot of parents have raised these children today by giving them whatever it is, thinking that giving them a game is going to change, is going to make them better, it's going to change. They don't change. They don't change. They're only getting worse because all they're going to do is ignore you. That's all they're going to do, is ignore you. Okay? Buying them Air Jordan for what? What do you need? What does a 10-year-old need? Wear a pair of $160 sneakers for what? I remember wearing those cheapy black and white sneakers or Converses that used to be bought in the damn supermarket.
Yep, $2.99.
Yes,
You used to
I
call them
remember wearing those. I remember wearing, jeans and suspenders. We played outside. We had a good time. I mean, I can't say that all of my life was terrible. I could just say that, life was easier. It was simpler, and I believe, my personal belief, because I'm not trying to push my beliefs on anybody. My personal beliefs is you connect together with your spirituality. You get to know who you are. You get to write down, get a journal, write down the things that you're going through, your emotions, because sometimes we
Mhm.
we may confuse emotional drama with spiritual drama, because like they say, the devil's busy. So there's a lot of things that are out here that you would not even believe. And if you were
Right.
spiritual, you would understand that there's not just people doing harm. There are other things at work here. And most of us have, or let's say all of us are born with that God voice inside of us that talks to us in our voice, because it's the only voice we understand. And then
Right.
it changes once we start to let spirit know that we appreciate them. And I think if everyone in the world would take the time to get to know who they are spiritually and not become a fanatic, just learn, I think that it would be beneficial. And I think that people that know you and people that call in, if they have questions, or they want to know something, or they want us to talk about something. I know me and I know you, you know, says you don't care. I don't care. You want to know something? No, I'm talking to the audience. You want to know something, then you ask, and we will tell you. We're not. Look, I don't push back. I may talk a lot. I don't push back because I'm not afraid of anyone. So if you want to know about something, you want to know about rape, I can talk to you about rape. You want to talk about, being abused by your family member, I can talk about that too. You want to talk about taboos, I can talk to you about that. You want to talk about being whatever, we can talk about anything. You bring up the subject and we don't know, we will find out and we will talk to you about it.
I see. So, but we've been on for a minute. But I forgot to take a commercial break because we went right on through.
That's
So
okay. We did
we're
that
gonna take,
yesterday too.
huh?
We did
Say.
that yesterday too.
So I'm gonna play a commercial. We're gonna do that. So let's go, let's go. All right, here we go. Come on.
Have you seen those truffles that sit on the table over there?
Uh-oh, what did you do? Okay. It went off just like that. Okay, we're gonna do the other one. It went off like whoop.
Manifestation, the rules of making your dreams reality each and every day. So to exercise the tools, the rules of adapting and being able to see your reality before your eyes, evolve each and every night as you awake to a new reality of which you choose. The book, Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo, will help you, guide you to your dreams that are now reality that you seek. Exercises that exercises the body, mind, and soul, the senses. It covers for you to get in touch with the inner you of your dream world and put it in the real world, your reality, to walk the walk you so choose. The book, again, Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo. Available on Amazon in hardback and ebook. Available in Barnes& and Noble, hardback and Nook. And also can be ordered from Dr. Cicely D'Angelo, PhD, off of Facebook, her fan page. Reach out on these portals of being able to get the book to make your dream reality today. Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo.
Okay, as you know where y'all can get the book at. I am so happy, and I hope you guys. But I did have some questions about that. Someone sent them, so I get them by text too. So which is a good thing. Get them all the way around.
Hey.
So the question is, how are we going to help our children have better and stronger mental outlook in life?
I think lying to children is a big problem. So I think that it should begin with always having them use their words as from the time that they learn to speak. Use your words. You know, if children, you know, I've experienced that the boys are more whiny than girls. So when little boys fall and they get hurt and they cry and they come to the mom should say, don't cry. Use your words. Talk to me. What exactly is going on? And why are you crying? It starts with that. Also, like I said, the example that I used, if your child is playing with a toy and some other child comes and you're saying, you know, you have the tendency, women have the tendency to say to their children, well, why don't you play with so-and-so? Well, did you ever stop to think that maybe your child doesn't want to play with so-and-so? Maybe your child wants to play by themselves, so you got to let him be. And if he has a toy or he has other toys, then ask him, you know, do you want to lend him one of your toys? And that's fine. And if he chooses not to be bothered, then you know what? Respect his space, because that's how you teach them to have boundaries. And it's simple. Everything in life is about boundaries, and you can't hide things from people. You know, you can only do the best that you can as a parent, and be the strongest foundation that you can be, and always let them know that family is important and family comes first, and that they don't have to walk around, you know, with new stuff to prove to other kids that they are in the same level, because 90% of the children that wear all this stuff, if you go to their homes, they don't live well. They just don't. So I believe that the answer is that, you know, never stop communicating with your child. If your child sees your husband and you arguing, you sit them down and just say, listen, adults argue. Don't be afraid, because children are often afraid, and children mimic, and they become what they hate the most. So that's very important. So if you're a mom, don't be afraid to teach your child how to cook with you. If your child decides to pick up his sister's doll, let him play with the doll. Doesn't mean he's going to be gay. It just means he just wants to play with the doll. It's normal for a child's development. And that's the biggest problem. We allow our egos to get the best of us. And we all want to be good parents, and we screw it up because we try too hard. Mm-hmm. Just be still. Listen to your child. Mm-hmm. And whenever your child is getting out of control, whatever, you stop them and you say, let's talk. These are the rules. And this is what I expect. Don't give children time, 3 hours, 4 hours playing games. No. Give them a certain time every day, an hour. That's enough. And then give them a book. Because these children, half the children don't even know how to read. Yeah, they're smart. They just don't know how to read, because they're not pushed to read. It's easier for some parents to just let their children play while they go about their business on Facebook, or to the man, or trying to do something else, or whatever it is that they do, and leave their child playing all day and all night, and then yell at them because they were playing all night. Well, whose fault is it? Yours, because you allowed it. So my thing is, communication has always been the key. My house, we talked about sex at a young age. My mom talked to us about sex when I was 12. She broke it down. She didn't have a problem talking to my sisters at 9, 10 years old about sex. Because she said it's better to know, for them to know what's going on, because they're out in the street. They're not with me. They're out. And they're gonna learn this stuff out. And I'd rather them learn it the right way than to learn it trash.
Okay.
And I think my sisters turned out okay. So that's my advice to that person. So what else?
The other question was, what do you feel about people that have hypochondria issues? They're hypochondriacs.
I think I believe that if you start to take pills at a young age, like, I don't know if you remember this, in the 70s, a lot of women, because I know my mother was, in the 60s and the 70s was the years, and 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, where they used to go to the doctor, and the doctor always prescribed volumes. Wow. The world was on volume, because my mother used to get them, and my mom right now, she's on nerve pills, and she always has been. And I believe that psychologically, when they don't have it, they believe that there is something wrong with them, and it's just the addiction. You know what I'm saying? Hypochondriacs like attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and again, it all connects. It's a mental issue. It's a mental issue. If you're saying, "Oh, my feet hurt, I can't do this, my feet hurt," well, let me observe you, and then you take off your socks and you're walking around your house barefooted all the time. How can your feet hurt if I tell you to go to the store? Your feet hurt, but inside the house they don't hurt. No, you're going to put on shoes and we're going to walk together. I want to see how much it hurts. Do you understand? And that's what people don't understand. You can't be afraid or even pinpoint and say, "Oh, well, you're a hypochondriac." People complain about pain all the time. Just because they say they're in pain doesn't mean that they're not in pain. You don't know their pain. I don't know their pain. But I can tell you that if they are on medication at a young age, or they've been on medication for a long time, and they try to wean them off the medication, they will start complaining about things. So you have to learn. You have to learn, and you have to see. You have to observe, because people don't want to observe people who they think is crazy. They don't. They automatically, like you said, they label them. And among Hispanics and among Blacks, I ain't going to the crazy doctor. I'm not crazy. Well, guess what? I love therapy. I love sitting down, having people tell me what they feel is wrong with me. I love that.
That's funny. Oh gosh. Hold on for a minute. This might be an emergency. Okay, how do I do this? Hold on. I don't even know how to do this. Hello?
Call phone.
Hello? Hello?
Press 1. Okay. I sent the caller's voicemail. Goodbye.
Okay. Oh, shoot. All right. It was the reason I had to take the call because it was from Duke Hospital. And I for you guys out there, I have a brother that's in ICU, and they flew him to Duke University because he was shot.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the only reason I took. So on Blog Talk Radio, I know it's coming out. I'm calling right back in. So guys, be patient with me. That's the only reason I did that. Other than that, I wouldn't have did that. Oh shoot. See, that's what happens. I'm just going. My angels and guys are with them, so they just gonna have to hold on until this gets done. But I don't feel as anything. It's just it came from the hospital. It's kind of like interesting. Okay. All right, hold on. Blog Talk Radio.
You're on.
Mhm. No, I'm on here, but okay. Alrighty, I should be in there in a minute.
Press 2.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I had someone come through on my phone, so I apologize for that. So I'm hoping everything is okay, and we're almost done. So if it is what it is. Woo! Okay. The other question was that I guess when we're talking about children, what was it? Children at fault. Okay. Oh. I guess when we're talking about children going recap, someone was talking about children. So okay. Yeah, okay. So sometimes the child feels they're at fault. Yes. When they're arguing. Like, you know what I mean? With children, when parents are arguing, they feel it's their fault that the person is they're arguing and they think they're at fault. There was a movie where this girl lived in the world around she was in a Jewish culture, Jewish family, but she was black and they let her pass, but she didn't know she was black. She thought she was Jewish like everybody else. She just happened to be dark because her family came from Sicily.
Cecily. Uh-huh.
Not Sicily, Sicily.
Cecily. Mhm.
So she went around the story to find out that they did break up because her mother had an affair, but it was swept on the rug. She didn't find out until she was 22. But
I
everybody
remember that movie. I remember that movie.
I shared it to you. So that's what I mean. But she felt she was at fault and couldn't figure out why. But her dad was very short with her because, as far as she was concerned, even though she met her biological father, she just said she didn't feel the connection. But that her dad is her dad. And she was not going to get married or have children because of this went on. So that's another mental health that's going on in that family that breaks a child down. They're lost because they don't know who the heck am I? And I can relate to that. Why don't I fit in? Or, why is this doesn't seem right? But in your world, as you see it, it wasn't until you went to the outside world, the real world. Because if that's all you live around and that's all you know what I mean? You're going to think that perceptive that that's what it is. But we're getting away from that. I'm going down the rabbit hole, and that's not the rabbit hole I meant to go down. But I'm just saying that's an example of a child feeling because the parents are arguing or they're fighting that it's their fault, that they've somehow caused it. And I don't know why children always feel that, but this is what I see all time and time again, that children take on, if their parents split up, they get a divorce, they think it's their fault. If they're arguing, they think their fault. But a lot of the time, it has nothing to do with the child at all. But it does put a heavy burden on that child.
And that is why I say that the matriarch is the most powerful. And yes, although we grow up, I mean, I didn't grow up knowing my father. So although we grow up and mothers, that's why they say, mother's babies, daddy's maybes.
Yep.
So the woman is the one who is supposed to educate their sons and teach them to be men, to be young men. But it doesn't work unless you communicate. You cannot let a child do whatever he wants to do. You cannot be this type of mother that your mother was or your grandmother was, where the males dominate everything and the women do not. That's not fair. Because you are a matriarch, why would you not want to raise your daughters to be matriarchs? And that's a big problem too. But what happens in our society, or in many societies, these children, like let's say you scold your child or the father scolds the child, right? And they're constantly move your bike, and they're always yelling or whatever. And then one day they just hear their parents arguing. Then they argue again. Then automatically they start to think, well, maybe if I move my bike, they won't argue. Or maybe if I do that, they won't argue.
Right.
And at the end of the day, what the child forgets and what the mother forgets to sit down and tell the child is, you're a child. I am an adult. People fall in love and people fall out of love. Just because your father and I fight and your father's going to live somewhere else does not mean that we do not love you. We love you. And we will be there for you no matter what. And as long as you're honest with a child will respect you. But when you lie to children, they will never respect you. Ever. And if you think that they don't grow up with resentment, you're crazy. They all grow up with resentment. And they'll throw it in your face. When they're 17, 18 years old, they'll throw it in your face. They see you dating different kind of men. They'll be like, well, if you weren't such a whore, then my father would have never loved you. No, really. I've heard this. I've actually heard this, and basically they're like that, so they don't know unless you tell them. That my advice is speak. Never be afraid to talk to your children about anything. But if you notice, if you don't be one of those mothers that gets high with her children, I don't believe in that shit at all. I think it's dumb. I think it's nasty. I don't believe that it is useful in any way. You want to smoke weed, you smoke weed. Your child wants to smoke weed, let them smoke weed. But when y'all smoke together, trust and believe nothing good comes out of that, because eventually you'll be like friends, and then whenever something happens, he'll be calling you out of your name, or she'll be calling you out of your name. And see, that's not good. And a lot of young mothers do that. I'm going to sit down and drink a 40 with my son. Oh, and that makes you a man because you're drinking a 40 with your son. That doesn't make you a man. It makes you an idiot. Because why would you want your son to be the same way you are? I don't get that. I don't.
I get it. I mean, I know that I'm tough. I raised my daughter to be tough, and she was a tough cookie, believe it or not. A little bit tougher than me in some instances, in a lot of instances, we will say. Because certain things I just like, okay. I used to be a softie. And she was tough on my son, and so like I said, my son grew up with two different mamas. Me, the head mama, the head honcho, and then my daughter, who is no bigger than a minute and will tell you all. So he had that aspect of two people, two strong females. And then at the time, one time, it was three strong females in the house when we had Dorian. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
We won't go there, but it was like it probably crushed his little soul.
But he grew up to be he's a strong gentleman. I mean, but
Yes.
like many boys that are raised with many mamas or many women, they tend to become very submissive. They do.
Well, he's not submissive. I wish I could say that. Very opinionated, and he does have some strong opinions. But also, what I did notice, he's very observant, and he picks up. He's sensitive too. He picks up on when something is not right, and I'm like, I'm doing all the spiritual work, and I'm like, he don't pay attention to me. And what you say? Oh, he pays attention to you.
Yeah, he knows everything. But what I'm saying is that those are boys that usually end up finding women that are strong like their mamas. They don't find weak women. They date with strong women. They do.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We're going to see about the planets.
So they have to pass through you first, right?
No. I told him, I said, I was going to come up with a nice Filipino woman. I was like, I'm taking to the Philippines and make him marry a Filipino woman, because I know that guess what? It'll be taken care of. My girlfriend thought I was playing when I was in Hawaii. I was like, you want your son to be right? You get him a nice Filipino woman. A Filipino woman is going to make sure that he's going to do everything he's supposed to, but he'll be strong, and he will be a man's man, meaning that he's going to take care of his family and himself, and he's going to stand up.
And she's going to take care of him with everything.
Yep.
That's what Asians. Yeah, that's what a lot of Asians do.
So
It's about caring.
right. So I mean, it's different. So let's yeah, I guess we got to get back on subject. I get off talking about my but also in a way. Go
No,
ahead.
but again, I would advise if anyone that doesn't know me, her and I go back 30 years. I have known her since she was a little kitten, and she's known me since I was a little dog. Well, not little, literally little. Um, but we've known each other for a very, very, very long time. She has her craft, I have mine. She has her profession, and I have mine. Um, and I do stress this. Anything you want to talk about, anything, bring it on. Bring it on. And we'll talk about it. We don't care. We will talk about it.
Hmm.
You
That's what I
know?
know. So okay, because like I said, we want to stick to our subject. It's
Yes.
mental and mental health. Okay, so what are some key points that you would advise besides them being able to talk? Because of we know that being mental health awareness, and it's world mental health, which I find really nice. It's world mental health, and so that's a check. And I think that has something to do with the COVID and being more isolated, and that places a lot more people in the house. But it also, because we're around each other, which I'm finding that a lot more abuse is being done, because now you're with each other, you're stuck in the house, you're getting on each other's nerves. So it's causing not only abuse of the spouse, the mate, but children, because they're in that environment more than they're being children. They want to play outside, but you can't play outside. You got to be in a mask. You got to do this. So now you're closing, you're confined. So I think a mental check. Now, with all of that going on, how do you survive all of that stuff? Because you're in the house with each other. You're looking at each other. Hi, you get up, I go to bed. Hello, you're there. Now I got to fix you lunch. Now I got to fix you dinner. Now, you're here constantly. And then they want to put you in front of the computer. So you're really not getting fresh air outside, because of you gotta wear a mask, and you gotta wear gloves, and you wear protective gear. I mean, it's so much stuff that is really affecting a lot of people mentally.
Well, mentally, yes. And it is affecting a lot of teenagers because there has been a big rate of suicide because of this COVID. But the thing is that what people don't realize, and I'm gonna throw you off into a different cycle. What people don't realize is that some of the crazy people that are in the hospitals, they're just very spiritual people.
Right.
Sometimes we have so much information given to us by the universe that our brains are working too fast and we can't handle the energy because the energy is too high. That's what happens to me.
Right.
I've met some gifted children who their parents thought they were crazy, but they were not. They're channelers. They channel. We're born incredible to do many, many things. God has blessed us with 7 gifts, and some of us have 4, some of us have 5. And when you have that many, sometimes it throws us off. You know what I'm saying? So these children that may seem hyper, they're not hyper. They just have so much in their brain. They want to do so much at one time, and they cannot.
Right.
Sometimes they see things and they don't say anything. Sometimes they feel things. So what is happening right now in the world, it's affecting everyone. Everyone. Okay? Everyone. And I just think that if you have children at home, make the time to play games. Nobody plays board games anymore. And I
Right.
love board games. They don't play board games anymore. Have a little cookout outside, go to the backyard, or take a drive to a park where there's nobody there and just have a little prepared meal, sit down, talk, let them run. If they see people, put a mask on. But at the end of the day, a child has to be a child. You have to let a child be a child. You have to let them run around. You have
Right.
to let them be who they're supposed to be, because a child's immune system sometimes is a lot stronger than us.
Right. And that's true. Well, you remember we used to play in the dirt, but we didn't,
Yes.
they didn't have this antibacterial soap, this anti this. So our
Mhm.
body was able to get more germs and get accustomed to it. So we build up antibodies to it in our body naturally.
Yeah.
Now we try to make everything so blasted sterile that, oh, now you don't get that. But let's get back to the mental health thing, because this is my favorite part of the mental hospital, because that also goes back to the three personalities, but also it also brings us back to autism. And my theory was that they have so much information, but they're also not living in this dimension, and they're fighting that. I
I,
know.
I agree with that. I agree with that because they're able to see things that we cannot see. How do you get someone who is on the cusp or is autistic? You give them a game that you have no clue how to play, and in 5 minutes they can figure it out. That's because they're highly intelligent.
Mhm,
Okay, there's something within them that's living that is stronger, and they are able to see things that we cannot see because their brain is innocent.
mhm.
Okay,
And it's kept in that.
so yeah, it's a lot of that. And unfortunately, what people don't understand is that autism. People say, "Oh no, it's both." No, autism. A lot of children that are born with autism, you have to look at the father. If the father drinks or it comes from a family that are alcoholics, there's a big percentage that your child will come out autistic, or at
Mm,
least one of them. And that's not something that I'm just coming up with. It's actually something that I researched with one of my goddaughters who has an autistic son.
okay.
So it's derived by the gene of the father.
See. All right. That's good. Okay. Have another question. Hold on. What is our question? Oh. Uh-oh. Yes. Our I said it wasn't clear on Blog Talk. Um. Okay. Okay. The walk-in. Can what is called mental illness the person that has a walk-in?
What do you
People
mean?
consider like a walk-in, meaning another entity actually coming into the body and taking over.
Yes, yes, definitely. I deal with the dead all the time. So I can be in a what we call a spiritual mass and get mounted by many spirits. And you have to you have to be able to not, first of all, you as a parent, if it's one of your children, you can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid. You have to be able to, if you, especially if you believe in God, you have to be able to trust in God and know that if the entity is bad, that you have the power to remove it. And if you don't, you can always call somebody like Doctor says, or call me, or call here, and we will talk. I will talk you through it. And because it's sometimes people think it's so difficult to get rid of spirit, and you see movies where they have exorcism. Well, you know what? Honestly speaking, I think that if the devil comes inside of you, you have done something or have gone through something where you have renounced God and you let something in. But yes, there are so many spirits all over the world. They're walking among us, and they can attach themselves to you. Just like if I'm sure whoever this person is, I'm sure they've been places, or they've had people go, or they've been around people where they suck the life out of you. Like they make you
Mhm.
feel weak after you talk to them. That's their spiritual vampires. Their energy, the spirit that walks with them, is sucking on your energy, and it's pulling in from the light, and it's making you, okay, you're a white candle, they're a black candle. By the time they leave, you become a gray candle. That's the only way that I can explain it.
Okay. Now, what I think, okay, what about adult walk-ins? Like they said, someone that transition decides just like in the movie, they decided, okay, that person decided that they don't want to live anymore. So from that entity that's in that body, so they go on to another place of happy la la land or wherever they go. Now another spirit decide, another soul says, okay, well, I'm going to take the place and walk in that light. You ever heard of that? Now another
look,
walking, another one.
a spirit, or let's say a mundane spirit, a spirit that has crossed that's let's say a poltergeist, right? Poltergeists are the ones that can move and they can do all this stuff, but a poltergeist cannot control your body.
Okay.
The spirit can control your body and when you're not present. You know what I'm saying? I come from a family of long mediums, so I was taught to read prayer books and to educate the spirit and try the spirit by the spirit. Always try the spirit by talking to it, especially if it's a walk-in. Walk-ins, as easily as they walk in, they can walk out. Sometimes if the person in the body, the person's body or the person's spirit is weak and they don't want to survive, then the spirit can stay until the person decides that it's okay. And then they'll live together. They can live together. But a spirit will never be able to survive without damaging the body. It won't. And either or, there are people that can remove that. So, yeah.
Yep. There. So a lot of stuff you can do. So I appreciate that. So, okay. So that about the walk-in, about the question. Okay, let me see. Because I'm getting questions from different ones. Okay. All right. We're going to go back and make sure that they can be heard. All righty. Put you back up there. So I'm glad we're going to do a show on spiritual, really, that we're going to kick some butt like that one. But, all right. What do you have? So when do you think when is your next Coffee with Ori's going to be? When is the next one coming up? We just got to know. What day?
When would you like it to be?
Okay, Monday.
Then on Monday, I suggest the people that are listening, because there are a lot of listeners that will listen, not comment, but whatever questions you want to know about that deal with spirituality, not just vegan, mental, I always say, what better clarification can you get about mental issues than a person who suffers from bipolar?
Right.
What information can you get about the dead than from a person who's a medium and have been a working medium since I was 14, working for the public? So, and if you want to do the math, I'm 54. So I started at 14. So you want to talk about, rituals and what is the difference between this and that, and where does God play a role in this, or whatever questions you guys have, join us. Because it's not just Coffee with Ori, it's tea with Sass, Dr. Sass. We were at one point we were the double duo. At one point we were the double duo, and many people were afraid of us. And we never wanted people to fear us. We just wanted people to just leave us alone.
I say.
So God has a way of making things and opening the roads and making us go in different directions, but he also has a way of bringing us back to where we need to be. And at this particular moment, I think that society needs help. And we're here. We got, I ain't got nothing better to do. I could talk all damn night. So you want, all I ask is for people to join.
Okay.
And I'll be on as many times as you want, and says too. You know, people know a little bit about her, but they don't know everything about her. They don't know that she's just as spiritual as I am. They don't know that she's very gifted like I am. And she doesn't, they don't realize that, you know, we do a lot of stuff. I am a Reiki master, so is she. We have many credentials under our belts, and we just find them to be funny. I find things to be funny. People may not laugh at the things that we find it to be funny, but you know what? A lot of the times when we ask people and we read people and we say, do you understand? Is there anything you want to talk about? Oh, no, I got it. And then they call me 2 days later to ask me questions that I asked. I used to answer those questions. Now I don't answer the questions. I'll tell them, and I will repeat it 5 times while you're in my house. Are you sure that there's nothing else? No. Are you sure? Because you can't call me back because I'm going to charge you. And at the end of the day, I always tell people now, record it. Record it so that way you can play it back and that you can have a better understanding. Why? Because I have nothing to hide or nothing to lie about. One thing I want to make it clear to everybody, though, is a big misconception when people say, oh, well, when your father dies or your ancestor died, you know, an auntie or whatever, they're going to walk with you. That's not necessarily true. Just because you have a parent that died does not mean your parent is going to walk with you. It's not. And it doesn't mean that your parent is going to show up like she has an invitation to Disneyland and she's going to show up and she wants to conversate. It doesn't work that way. Us as mediums, sometimes we get criticized because, oh, they don't know nothing. But guess what? We know more than you because we have a connection with the dead. Maybe the dead don't want to speak to you at that moment.
Right.
Or maybe you're not walking in the light that you should be walking in, and they're pissed off at you, and they don't want to communicate with you. But when it's something that when they have a message, just remember this: when they have a message for you, they will give the message. The message will come through, whether it comes through an aunt, a cousin, a friend, somebody that you know that died. The message will come through, but don't always think that a family, that your mother or your father or your brother or your sister is going to come through. 80% of the time they do, but there's always that window where they don't. I just wanted you to be clear on that.
Okay. Well, because I was a little bit upset, but I was, I guess, rare. My daughter came to me during her transition when I was on the plane from Belize, and that shocked me. From there because I got to see the stairs because I was saying something and I was in the clouds and it was like the sunrise or, you know, like the purple skies that was transforming sunset. And I was like, okay. And then I said, okay. She says, Mom, I got everything that I wanted. The body, the spirit, everything. I am what I wanted to be. And then all of a sudden I seen stairs going up. So I was kind of okay, was in shock, but I was okay with it, but not okay really with it. If you know, subconsciously, I was good, but consciously, when you think about it, it's still my child.
Child, yes.
So,
And she will always be a child, whether she's in this world or she's in the next one.
right.
You understand?
So that helped, but it also helped knowing that she does come through. And that was one thing that people think, oh, because you're spiritualist, you're supposed to be okay. You're not supposed to have emotion. You're not supposed to be like that. Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's what people assume. I'm sorry. And I said, I'm still in a 3D form right now. So I still have that attachment, that still mom kind of situation going on. So I am going to hurt. I am going to cry. And I had to think because that made me start thinking, man, if I'm so spiritual. And then I thought, and I knew, and I said to myself, I was a little bit selfish, you know, at that point. But then I realized, no, I let her be who the person she is, and I let my children. So I learned from my children,
Yeah.
as well as I hopefully they learned from me. What I got was the best gift from my daughter was a video of saying how great of a mom she thought. You know how kids say, Mom, you're good?
Yeah.
But to have that video of her a month before her passing to say, why she thought I was the greatest mom in the world. I was like, you really believe this?
I know,
And
I know why you're the greatest mom in the world, because I lived it with you. I seen what
right.
you went through. I saw your struggle, and you never abandoned your children, and you didn't have help from your family.
No, that's
So
right.
you know what? That's when we became family.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you know what? Look, people,
What?
we're here to serve you. And we're spiritual people. Spirit doesn't have to serve us. We have to serve them, because they are the ones that help us every day. And everyone has an angel, whether you believe in angels or not. Everybody has spirits that walk with them. If you believe in incarnation, sometimes we bring spirits from another time frame into this time frame, and it causes obstacles. And they're not that difficult to remove. Um, and there are certain things you can do to just change the vibration and change the direction you're going in. I'm not Dionne Warwick, and I'm not going to pretend to be Dionne Warwick. No, I'm 1-900, because and I'm not 1-800 psychic in California. I don't do that, because I tried out for them one time, and I don't understand how they were going to get the majority of my money for me reading, and they'll get a bigger percentage than me. How can that? No, 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 no. So
Okay.
the reality is they exist. It's 2020. Teenagers now are getting more involved. People think that they're leaving the church. You know what? The church was imposed on us. So if children want to experience different things, let them. This is a spiritual world. And that's the one thing people have to know. We are spiritual beings, and we're puppets. Right now we are living in a body, but we don't become real until we die.
Okay, hold on. Somebody press one because I was going to say something. Hold on. Okay. Hello? Can you hear? Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely tapped on some very interesting things that I've been noticing. The spirit world and the physical world are getting closer
90
in
seconds.
this time. And just like mental illness, I think that's part of the reason why. Because sometimes people act a certain way, and then the next day they're not the same. So sometimes it makes me wonder. And I'm starting to realize that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
And that's another reason why I'm glad y'all talked about that, the walking
60
thing.
seconds.
Like that. There's a movie called The Atticus Institute.
Okay.
Have either one of you seen it?
Hold on for 1 second. I got to do this real quick for Blog Talk because it's about to click off in 60 seconds. For everybody that's on Blog Talk, you need to come on over to the YouTube channel. And what I'm going to say is that our next show will be on Monday, Coffee with Ori.
And it will be about spirituality.
And it'll be about spirituality.
So the gentleman, whatever he needs,
he's gonna call. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. post standard time and 9 p.m. standard Eastern Standard Time. Got to get this right. Eastern Standard Time. But also, I want you to know on Wednesday we will have Ron, also the angelic reading, and October 24th we are going to also have the psychic fair, virtual psychic fair, from 9 a.m. all the way to like 2. So that's coming up. Look forward to it. Subscribe to it. Let me know. Put your questions in. Be live. So for Blog Talk, we're clicking off. And for you, I'm going to switch you over. Okay? You know what I mean. My caller. I'm switching you over. All right. Because I'm closing out of Blog Talk. Blog Talk is shutting down. That has nothing to do with this. All right. Now, let me get this. Hold on. And
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
okay.
Goodbye.
All right. Now, the person I just had on, we'll have them on in 1 minute. Give me a minute, and we good. All good. That's one. Yeah, see, now we're going into serious overtime. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, where'd you go? All right. Ah, it's a good thing. Girl. It's been it's been a day. It's been a day.
That was good.
Yeah, we still not finished. We still live. So keep them entertained.
Okay. So the gentleman, what is his name?
Hold on. That's who I'm calling now.
Yes.
Okay, so now, all right. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear him.
All right, now.
Okay, so what is your name?
Eddie.
Eddie. Where are you calling from, Eddie? I'm curious.
South Carolina.
Okay. I was gonna say Atlanta. and I'm gonna tell you why. When you came on and you mentioned about walk-ins, right? I saw a spirit of a grandmother figure, okay? And I don't know if it's a grandmother or a great grandmother. So you come from a long line of very gifted people and people who are very intuitive, just like you are. You're very intuitive. The problem is that you've always kept that to yourself. You've never talked about things that you feel or things that you have seen or things that you think you see. If I'm wrong, tell me that I'm wrong, but this is what I'm picking up from you.
No.
I keep seeing, for some reason, I keep seeing two little lights. So I don't know if you ever had little children, I mean, babies that were aborted. I don't know if you had women that have aborted, but I see two little angels. They're lights, and they actually protect you because, you know what? For a while, it just seemed like it was like you needed saving from yourself, not from anybody else, but from you. You understand? And I think that right now, in the last 3 years, you've been soul searching, but you're soul searching on a spiritual level, not on a physical plane, because you know that there's more to just life. What I can tell you is that spiritual energy is just that. It's spiritual energy. What I can tell you is that they're messing around with 5G, and right now it's opening up portals everywhere, literally portals.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand that everything is a vibration. Mm-hmm. Why are so many animals dying in the water? Because of vibration. Sonar vibrations are killing them. And birds dying. Why? Because the vibration of the 5G is too strong. It wasn't supposed to actually go online until like 2021 or 22, but they decided to do it early. And what people don't understand is that the coronavirus actually it gets activated by sound because it's a virus. So it grows. And, I was shown this before the virus even came. So I warned people and my family to be careful because something was coming. And I will tell you though that things are going to change. Now, I'm going to ask you questions. Not that I don't like to guess. So I like to ask questions because that's the only way that I can relate with you. There's a spirit that's there, and she's telling me that her name is Mary. I don't know who she is. Do you know Mary that crossed over?
Yeah, that was my grandfather's girlfriend.
Okay. Well,
Definitely married that I know. And I did call her grandma, but biologically she wasn't related to me.
yeah, but she's around you. That's the whole thing. Because I'm seeing her walking. She was very sassy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I see her walking with you. And you know what, my brother? You have decisions to make, but don't overthink them. Because you know what? You were born to have. You were not born to be poor. You were not born to be mediocre. You were born to have. And if you haven't had, it's because you get in your own way. Do you understand that? You have been thinking about things and you have been thinking about changes, but do not make money an issue, because when you make money an issue, money becomes an issue.
That's an issue.
And if you really believe in God, like you say you do, and the higher power, then you have to believe that you always have money. Because if you don't believe that you always have money, and be in the gratitude every day, I'm in the gratitude, even if you get $1 or if you find a penny, Lord, I live in the gratitude for what I just received from the universe. That's it. And by you doing that, you will let the universe know that you're ready. See, because you have a lot of great ideas, but a lot of the ideas that you have handed them out to other people, and you've talked to them, and they have created businesses, and you have been left in the dark. A lot of people have used you in the past, and it's time for you to think about yourself. I know that it sounds like you're being selfish, but you know what? It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to think about yourself first, because you should be set up first before you can help anybody else. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just giving you the message that this man that I say is a grandfather figure was talking about. Was your grandfather a farmer, or did he have land?
Yes, that's
Okay.
my father's father. Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I see this person, very simple, not God fearing, but very simple. It's like he can curse, but nobody else can curse. He can say this, but nobody else can say that. Yeah. So I just keep saying that. But let me tell you something. Blessings are coming. 2021 is going to be an exceptional year for you if you follow through with your plans. Because you have plans, and don't talk about them. Just do them. That's it. Talk to people about what you want to do afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You used to have a friend that was in the military. Used to be your friend. It's not your friend anymore. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You guys are not friends anymore, though. But you were friends when you were younger.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, you know what? Learn to forget. Not just forgive. Forget. Let it go. Let anything that people have done to you, because you've gone through a lot. And people think that men don't cry, but we cry. People think that men don't suffer. You've suffered a lot. But you know what? You've always suffered by trying to prove yourself to other people. You need to stop that. You should never let anyone treat you less than what you are. Do you understand? And you're more important than anything. So, if you give a woman respect and she doesn't respect you, then there's no reason for you to be with that person at all. Do you get it? Okay.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
I mean, that's what I have for you for today. I hope I've been helpful.
Hey, that's a lifetime right there. That's a lifetime. You read the script.
What you drinking? That's not no coffee.
Oh, I'm drinking a ginger ale because the coffee is finished and I don't want to make more. But I will tell you this though. On Wednesday, you're gonna get an inclination from this woman that is your grandfather's, because she liked money. So did your grandfather. So I don't know why, but I don't know if it was her that played numbers or your grandfather who played numbers, but they're going to give you a number and you're going to be thinking about something and you're going to see whether it's a license plate or something that's going to catch your eye, and it's going to be a number, and it's going to be like a deja vu, like if you saw the number before. Whatever you do, whenever you get the inclination to play a number that you see that comes out, just play. Even if it's just $1, play. And when you hit, don't talk about it. And never say, if I hit the lottery, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to take care of you. You can't spend your money if you don't have it yet. So don't talk about it. Just talk about, I know that I'm going to win. Don't say, if I win. Know that you're going to win. Because I'm telling you, the way that everything is lining up for you, the worst is over. You already went through the storm. Now you're outside the storm. So now everything is going to start to open up slowly. But you have to learn to be patient because your patience is not good at all.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? It's been real. I actually like talking to you. I honestly hope that you were that I did help you in some way, because trust me, you don't want to get a reading by me because I do charge well. But I hope that you listen, do you understand? And that you choose to put down the ideas that you have and not be afraid that I want to do something, or I can do, I want to do this, or I want to create this because of money. Do not make money to be the issue that you're having at all. At all.
Sounds good. All righty. Now, what I'm going to say, what was you thinking? That's what I was going to say. What do you think? You good? Hello?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I mean,
Woof. That's right.
Yeah, it's clear. And just like you said, the lady Mary, I can remember her. And actually, she was the one, too, who played numbers. And her and my grandfather used to argue a lot because, he was kind of greedy for money. But anytime he wanted some money, she'd give him some. And he'd get mad because she had money and didn't tell him. But and she used to always love pinching and kissing my face. And she had a mouthful of gold teeth.
Oh, gosh.
All right, she was getting stuff. That's good. That's very good.
Okay, you party people, we are overtime. Over here is like 12 minutes and 48 seconds. So we're going to say goodnight. This has been Dr. D from Food Alchemy. And we're going to say goodnight. You don't go nowhere. I'm ending the broadcast. You got off too fast. I will talk to you later, caller. Mr. Eddie, I will talk to you later. Thank you for calling. I will see you on Monday and maybe Wednesday.
Thank you, Ori.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Anybody out here, like I said, stay tuned. Monday, Coffee with Ori will be back 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be the slot every Monday. That slot is locked up, and you'll see things as we grow, and just get better and better, like fine wine. That's what it is. Food Alchemy get better and better and better. So, and then on Wednesday, we're going to have Ron, the Angelic. And then, like I said, I am putting together a virtual psychic fair where I'm going to have some spiritualists on here. So we're going to be live on Blog Talk a little bit of the time. And then we're going to be live on YouTube. And I make sure that we're going to be live on other streams at the same time. We're going to kick this up a notch. So you know how I like to do things. I like it like spicy and hot. Hey, I'm just saying. So stay tuned. Know that I love you. Again, don't you go nowhere. I'm telling you. But you guys, I know it's time, but y'all got to get out of here. It's time for y'all to go. All right.